welcome back to another video today here again on Gran Turismo 7 to take a look at the first of the 3 new cars added as part of update 1.17 that includes these 3 new cars as well as 1 new track. Today I'm going to be looking at and taking a look at the first of the 3 cars, which is this Ford Roadster. On a slightly different note, I have noticed recently that Gran Turismo 7 seems to have got a lot slower at loading and things, and as you can see in the bottom corner then, PlayStation Network cannot be reached, which it seems to do continuously, and almost every time I log into it, it seems to immediately disconnect. So do let me know if you're also experiencing this, or if it's just me. I am still unfortunately stuck on a PlayStation 4, which might explain why I'm having quite so many problems. Anyway, back to the car itself, which I've brought to the new track, which is of course Watkins Glen, which has a long and short layout, this being the long layout. This track, of course, well, to me, I know more from Gran Turismo's main rival, Forza Motorsport has traditionally always had this track included. As for the car itself, to get hold of it, you can buy it for 400,000 credits at the Legendary Cars, whatever it's actually called in this, but the expensive vintage cars place. It produces 179 horsepower and weighs just 1,115 kilos, putting it at 410.43 performance points from standard. As you may be able to tell though from those figures and from looking at this thing, it isn't entirely a standard Ford. I'm not sure they even produce these as Roadsters, I think people just chop them. As you can see, it doesn't handle brilliantly either. But yes, it is a bit of a hot rod. Started life as a Ford Model B, which along with the Model T and Model A were very popular for the sort of early hot rodding scene. And well, if you look at this thing, to me that is, if somebody says hot rod, this is kind of what first pops into mind. Obviously people have done much crazier things than this since, but traditionally this is the sort of thing they'll do, just take wings off, add a bit of power, that sort of thing, sort of subtle tweaks to make it the best kind of road car it can be. PlayStation Network cannot be reached. Again, that keeps popping up and then fixing itself to kind of prove my point earlier. This particular Ford was built to this spec in 1954 at a huge cost at the time of $2,800. It is currently on display at the Henry Ford Museum, which is why it's been chosen to be added to Gran Turismo. It is, well, a particularly fine example of an early hot rod. But as you can probably see from this replay footage, and as you might expect, it still does handle like a car originally built in the 1930s. It was quite a lot of fun to slide about, but you were never going to get anywhere particularly quickly. It definitely could do with a few upgrades. So with this new Watkins Glen International Circuit, there are actually 3 new events here, one of which is, rather conveniently, a front-engine rear-wheel drive 550 performance points American challenge. So I think, with a few upgrades on the Ford Roadster, we should see if we can manage to complete this race using the new car. In terms of visual customization, there's not a lot, although you can swap out the front grille for a black one, which I probably am going to do. There's the usual number plate removal stuff as well, different styles and rear only, but I kind of quite like the Arizona plate it's got from standard. So I've upgraded it slightly over the 550 that was required for the race to 561.54 performance points, basically by equipping a sports computer, sports air filter, the silencer was already on it, sport brake pads, street suspension, weight reduction, and racing tyres, just to make sure it has nice levels of grip. I've also painted it in Ford's liquid red, as well as doing some of the other bits in a matte black accent. So here we are for 3 laps around the short layout of the new Watkins Glen circuit, which is good because at the beginning, when I was first testing this out, we did the full layout, so this gives you a quick glimpse of what the 2 layouts of the new track look like, and hopefully the upgraded hot rod will now be quite good. It is incredibly light now that I've added even more weight reduction. It wasn't a heavy car. but it doesn't have much power. I think it's still less than 200 horsepower. And 3 gears. Somehow we're not quite bouncing the limiter though, so maybe 3 gears is fine. Oh. I mean, to be fair, most of these cars will only have 4, I think. Up the inside of both of them. For some reason they're all braking a lot, which is just as well, because those 2 newer cars should have been more difficult to overtake. So you see, that's where the full layout goes off that way. I kind of feel like the only thing I should have done differently with this, instead of weight reduction, because it was already light, I think I should probably have done suspension, potentially a little bit more with brakes, and definitely a gearbox, just so that it's got more than 3 speeds. Apart from that though, it's turned out rather well, and, well, I know it's 10 performance points over the recommended, but it seems to be winning. Not by much, and like I say, it's over the recommended, but still, it's not bad for a car this old. So we round the final corner, and there we go. We're going to quite easily do that in the end. So there we go, that is going to do it for a first look at this Ford Roadster here on Gran Turismo 7. Fun little hot rod, quite low power but quite low weight. Drives reasonably nicely from stock, but does kick the back out quite a lot, as you might expect from tyres this old, and upgraded it was surprisingly good, although as I said I would recommend, or if I was doing it again, I would definitely fit a gearbox, brakes and suspension instead of weight reduction, which might potentially increase the performance points slightly, swapping those parts out like that, but I think it would make a slightly more enjoyable to drive end result. But yeah, fun little thing. Do let me know if you've enjoyed this video, because I would love to make similar videos on the other 2 cars from the update, the Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak Monster from previous Gran Turismo games, and of course the new Suzuki Vision Gran Turismo Group 3 car. So do let me know if you'd like to see videos on those. But for now, for a first look at the Ford Roadster, that is going to be all. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next video very soon.